Hey guys, welcome back. I am so excited to have Sandy back on the show to talk about the May astrology. Sandy was with us a couple months back, and she's going to be talking to us about astrology regularly, but she is an amazing Reiki master, a yoga instructor, and most importantly, an astrological guide. We absolutely welcome Sandy onto the show. Ooh, I get goosebumps introducing you. I think you're just the coolest person ever. So, welcome.
Thank you, Megan. Thank you very much.
So, today we're going to talk about astrology that's happening for the month of May. I've been following a person on X who does a lot of forecasting and looks at the astrological birth charts for politicians and countries. And I found it quite fascinating to follow him because I am a consultant in oil and gas, and I am quite interested in politics. I have an economics degree, which I haven't really shared with viewers. Like, a lot of viewers probably don't know that side of me, but I would love to, bring more mental health to oil and gas. So I found it quite interesting, Sandy, to look at how astrology is really affecting politics and the war and the Strait of Hormuz, which ultimately affects oil and gas. Do you follow that regularly, or?
Yes and no. Pluto in Aquarius, when Pluto entered Aquarius, that was a huge start. It dipped in after COVID, then came back. But what we're seeing, essentially, when Pluto goes into Aquarius, it breaks down old traditional systems. So a lot of the governments, the banks, the systems that we have in place that, have been ultimately corrupted, it takes it down and the power goes back to the people. And that's what Aquarius wants, is the collective. So we see a lot more co-ops. We're seeing a lot of countries starting to actually make win-win policies instead of just going in and destroying, and the good guys are becoming the bad guys are becoming the good guys. So a lot of that kind of shuffle is definitely Pluto in Aquarius. And he stays there for 20 more years.
Yes, I was going to say Pluto is an outer planet, and we'll probably talk more about that in a little bit, but I just wanted to mention it. I find it quite interesting. So, so for the month of May, we have, we're going to be entering Taurus, which is the second sign of the zodiac, and it's like a fixed earth sort of energy. But would you tell us about sort of like an overall tone for May?
Yeah. Well, Taurus energy, their mantra is I have, right? So Taurus is always looking for stability, ultimately being grounded. This is where we want to slow down. They're the most sensual sign there is. So all of us are going to be influenced more by touch, taste, smell, feel. We're going to feel that pause that we want, and the fixed energy of spring, like Aries brings spring in very, loudly, and we can see that here in Alberta. So Taurus is like, hey, let's give it some time. And that's ultimately their energy. So we know them as the earth goddess in astrology. But yeah, it's a more patient, more determined time. And it's really a time about getting our blueprints ready for whatever it is we're moving towards in our lives.
Yeah, we move from that Aries, very fiery, action oriented before we think, into Taurus, which I was going to say is quite a bit more patient, grounded. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Aries is the seed, and Taurus is the sun and the rain and the soil. And, it creates the environment where the seed can do what it was meant to do. Mm-hmm. The other mantra of Taurus is I grow.
Yeah. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. So we start the month, May 1st, we have the full moon in Scorpio. And Scorpio to me is a lot about transformation and depth and passion. But what should we know about this full moon?
The things you should know is with every full moon, what's happening is the sun and the moon are causing an 180-degree angle, an opposition. So it's always about polarity. Every sign has a polar opposite. Taurus's opposite is Scorpio. So the full moon, we have the mantra we just talked about, I have. And then we look at Scorpios, which is I desire or I transform. They're alchemists, but Scorpio is really good at letting go. and they're really good at bringing dark into, or the what we would consider dark into light, right? They go deep and they're intense, very opposite of Taurus energy, which is very peaceful and calm. They don't want intensity. So how to know full moon energies? They last 2.5 days. So you'll feel it coming in and out. And then the thing to look up is where is Scorpio in your chart and where is Taurus in your chart, because that's where we're going to feel it, and it's going to be an ego clashed with emotions, because that's what the full moon is, right? The sun is our ego, moon is emotions. So we're all going to be challenged in that way in some area of our life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's really valid to look it up and see how it affects your actual birth chart. I actually just thought about a little bit of a journaling prompt for everyone for this. Let me know if you think that this is good. But I said, where am I holding onto control, resentment, or secrets that are ready to be transformed?
That's a pretty good Scorpio mantra. Another really good thing, especially with you, like with your beautiful coaching, is if we look at the full moon with Taurus and Scorpio that I have and the letting go, this is good for like scarcity mindset. And where am I holding myself back, trying to be safe? Because so it's so exactly like that.
Mm-hmm.
Burn
That's
stuff.
Beautiful. Yeah. Okay, and then on May 3rd, Mercury moves into Taurus as well. So how will this affect our communication?
Mercury going into Taurus is it's pretty funny actually, because there's planets that we call, it can be in detriment or fall, or they're exalted, or wherever they are in a sign. Mercury has a hard time in Taurus. Mercury's really good in Aries because that energy of that fire and air do well together. Ideas are flying, and we have a lot on the go. So what we can expect is, for the most part, a little bit more peace of mind. Our things will move slower. We'll be more conscious of what we're saying. It's a great time to get more into that processing and planning parts of life. Again, this is unique to every individual and where Mercury or where Taurus is in their chart, where they're going to feel it the most. But for the most part, Mercury gets slowed down in Taurus. And so whenever that happens, we sometimes get stunted if we're trying to move forward, but it gives us the opportunity to go over the as we were talking about a little earlier, that blueprint, right? Taurus shows up with the blueprint. So,
I think it sounds like it's a time to be a little bit more deliberate, maybe about our communications. But I also, as you're talking, I'm also kind of feeling pulled to, from a life coaching perspective, it would be an interesting time to look and to focus on values, perhaps, like what are our values? Because we have that grounded beginning, energy.
Well, one of the thoughts, if we look at Taurus's action, it's the least amount of effort to get the greatest amount of results. And so if we look at, Mercury being the mind and how we communicate, you could apply that there. So absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, beautiful. And then on May 6th, we have Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius. Now, we sort of touched on this, but Pluto is an outer planet. It takes what is it, Sandy, 250 years roughly?
Yeah, a long time. He takes 20 years per sign, but he's not stable, so it's different.
Okay, yeah.
But yes.
And Pluto is sort of a planet, correct me if I'm wrong, but I see it as transformation and power controls and cycles of death and rebirth. Is that accurate for Pluto?
It is. Pluto rules Scorpio, so you see a lot of the same things that you said about Scorpio. The difference is Pluto. It's think about it as death and rebirth, because transformation is a part of it, but you have to let go for something to start with Pluto.
Yes, that's easier said than done. You have to let go of something for something else to start. So what does this mean for the collective? Like when Pluto stations retrograde in Aquarius?
Yeah, well, when any planet goes retrograde, usually it brings the energy inwards to us. So instead of it being in our external lives, it now becomes internal. And so this is very psychological for the most part, because we're going to start seeing where have the systems within us what traditions, what things programs have we kept doing and doing that we're going to let go of completely. So a lot of ego deaths will be happening around this time. And whenever, like, Pluto's going to be retrograde, I think for about 6 months. Like it's not short like Mercury. So when we say it's subtle, it's not like every day this hits you in the face, but how do you work with it? Just watch where you're getting stopped on something and then see if you can let that go, right? And that's how we work with that energy instead of just sometimes feeling a little bullied by the planets, is because we're resisting. We're not open to the change they want. And Pluto wants change. He wants death and rebirth.
Yeah, absolutely. And then like that Aquarius energy too, which is, kind of a rebellion. Like, I always think, I don't know, sort of, they're not super impressed with individuals, but they do want to help the collective move forward. So it's an interesting kind of blend.
Well, that's actually a little bit not true. Aquarius is the most eclectic energy there is, and they are all about the individual for the sake of the collective. So they're not like the me of Leo and Aries, but they are the ones that will do the first oddball crazy thing because they want to shock the system peacefully for the collective. So they're like, everybody be just yourself.
Yes. Oh, okay. Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
For the collective. That makes a lot of sense.
And if you want to, like, for people who are watching this, look at where Aquarius is in your chart, because if you have an Aquarius sun or an Aquarius midheaven or whatever area of life Aquarius rules for you, that's where these systems will be broken down for you. And it's really fun to go into that.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. And then talk to Megan to get through it.
Oh, that's funny. So May 16th, we have a new moon in Taurus. What should we know about the new moon?
If you follow lunar cycles, new moons are where we bring stuff in. Full moons are, we during the waxing moon, we build. When we get to that new level, we can let everything old go, and we let it go for the whole kind of selective. So when we look at what astrologically is happening, we have the new moon is the moon and the sun conjunct. So instead of being opposite in the sky, like the full moon, they're now amplifying. So the ego and the emotional parts of us come together. And this gives us a wholeness that helps us. And in Taurus, this is going to be great for anything that you want to grow, growing your business, growing, people who are looking at maybe a nest egg or financial things. Taurus really likes to have, you said the word value. They're very value oriented, but not just with finances, with the energetic exchange in life. Like what do you value? Because that's what you're going to grow. So that would be, for me, I would be like, look at where Taurus is in your ruling your chart, and then just focus that energy. And that 2.5 days, new moons are new beginnings always. And Taurus is how you could ask even like, how do I want to spend my time? Or, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I was talking to one of my groups last week about values. And people often think that values, maybe they confuse values and morals, but also, it might be a natural instinct to say, oh, I value my family or something like that, right? But values, when you look at them and you look at them from the perspective of like, where do I spend my time? Where do I spend my money? What do I put energy and effort into? One of my values is actually well-being. So it makes sense, right? That I want to help coach people and I want to look after their well-being. So values are, that's a more in-depth way to look into our values.
I love how you just said that, because it's a currency. If you're going to pay for it, what are you getting back? And sometimes, as much as we do cherish our family and our friends, sometimes that exchange isn't what we need at the time. So you just worded that beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then on May 18th, we have Mars entering Taurus as well. So how will this affect the actions that we will be taking?
Well, it will be the actions. And this is another planet that struggles a little bit here because, again, Mercury is very fast mentally, and Mars is very all about action. It rules Aries. So Mars energy, and Scorpio for that matter, which is the opposite. So we would say that this is fallen. that Mars has fallen in Taurus. It loses its power. But what does that do? It allows us to stop and smell the roses. So the people that are going to struggle the most are people who have a heavy Mars in their chart, or a lot of that Aries or Scorpio energy, because that's not a momentum they know very well. But slowing down, whether you want to or not, is always a good thing, right? Because sometimes we buzz so quickly forward, we aren't actually looking at what's going on in the present. So the best way to say that is it's going to clip the wings a little bit, but it's going to allow us to stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, I was actually getting kind of just like the feeling of being held back, but clip the wings, that works too as sort of like a metaphor to describe the energy and how that might feel to people. And then May 18th, Venus enters Cancer. And now we talked about Venus a little bit last time you were on, but how will this affect our love and also our possessions, right? Is Venus energy?
Yeah, so Venus rules Taurus, and Venus, of course, rules, wait, I'm missing another Libra. I'm like, where is that? It's in my head somewhere. So when we look at Venus and Taurus energy, we see possessions, values, things we want, and then Libra's more of the social things. So if we look at Venus as a planet, it's really about, it's the planet of attraction, but not just attraction for love, attraction for relationships, attraction for what we want to call in manifestation, attraction for our wealth, our prosperity, abundance. So that's, if there's a word to associate Venus with, everybody goes to love, but it's actually more accurately, it's the money planet, it's attraction. But it also does rule, what do we need to feel loved? How do we want to connect with others? So when Venus goes into Cancer, Cancer is the nurturer of the zodiac. She's the matriarch. Even if you're a man, there is a thoughtfulness and an emotional intelligence that comes with Cancer. So how is Venus going to relate in these things? We're going to start cherishing and wanting to attract more of that home environment where we feel like we belong, where we feel connected. We're going to want our emotions to be more in a place where they feel safe and stable. And Venus does extremely well in Cancer. It loves it here. So we're all going to be looking for these safe spaces, or very aware when we're not in them. And again, that'll mean, if you where Cancer is in your chart.
Yeah, I always think, the easiest way to think of Cancer is a crab in a shell, that home, that protection. So that makes a lot of sense. Like, we're attracting things that are maybe comfortable and secure, and yeah. Okay, and then we're lucky enough in May to have 2 full moons. So at the very end of the month, May 31st, we will have the full moon in Sagittarius. Now, I believe this is called the blue moon. What should we know about this full moon?
Well, blue moons happen when you have 2 full moons in the same month. Not very often, but it does happen every year, so we can make plans. So again, we're back to that opposition, right? So the ego and the emotions clash, but this time, because we're now in Gemini, we're no longer in Taurus. The opposite of Gemini is Sagittarius. And so if we look at those two, we have Gemini, who's very logical, very detail oriented, all about information and communication. And then we got Sagittarius, which is big picture, expansion, and they want experiences. They want, other cultures. They're about beliefs. So we have like abstract thought and logical thought. And we have like Gemini, who sees one tree in the forest, and Sagittarius, who sees a whole forest. So what happens is, wherever this is in your chart, wherever you feel this full moon, that polarity becomes very real for you. And it'll be much more of a, I would say, a mental, it's your belief systems essentially going through your state of mind. That's the best way to look at this full moon. And because the full moon is going to be in Sagittarius, it's the belief systems that are emotionally going to be brought to the surface. So we could look at what are our societal norms that are maybe not appropriate for what we believe, or where is our mindset not in line with what we want to believe, or even worse, are we married to a belief? You know, sometimes we get religious, like political identity, stuff like this, where we get so blind to everything else, we can only see one thing. So that's what you'd want to get rid of with that full moon.
Hmm. I think that actually falls in really good. I have this journaling prompt. What limiting beliefs or outdated philosophies am I ready to release so I can expand? Which seems to be very fitting with what you're explaining.
Yeah,
Take off the
right in line.
blinders.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, beautiful.
yeah.
So that is all of the entertainment that we will feel in the month of May. So and generally speaking, just to wrap things up here, Sandy, we went from Aries season. We're going to be entering Taurus and sort of like a bridge into that Gemini season. Is there anything else you want to mention for this transition or for the month as a whole?
Um, I feel like whenever we get into this season, everybody gets more into this. They get excited to, start to get the gardens. We got the seeds going. Like the energy is already there. We start to feel like we're beginning these things and we're committing to their progress. So I think if people are feeling lost or in not feeling that motivation to take, talk to an astrologer, talk to someone, see where that is in their chart and how to work with the energy. But most of us should be feeling pretty grounded and starting to feel like, hey, here's the plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm personally very excited. Like you mentioned that where we're at, it'll start to get a little bit warmer, a little bit greener, and can have a little bit more outdoor time. I'm looking forward to that earthy time.
Me too.
Yeah.
We keep getting teasers.
Yeah, exactly. Just kidding. We're going to snow again. Thank you, Sandy, so much for joining me today and for all of your information. It's honestly such a pleasure to know you and to work with you. And I just think you're such a gem. So
The
thank
feeling's so mutual. I
you.
just love you.
So tell us, Sandy, I know that you have had some recent changes with regards to your social media. Unfortunately, had a little bit of a hack situation. So I know your website is solarpowerhealth.com, but
Yes.
could you tell everyone how to connect with you on your social media platforms now?
Yeah. So solarpowerhealth.com. I also have TikTok at Solar Power Health. And then there's Instagram is now Solar Power Health Inc. And for anyone interested in astrology, I teach a 101 course that'll be coming up in May 3rd.
Ah, beautiful. Okay. That's awesome. Is that in person or online?
It's in person. It's at the Yurt in Cochrane.
Okay, beautiful. And they could get more information on your website.
Absolutely.
Okay. And is the best way to connect with you through email and your website now then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Or social media. I'll get it one way or another. Whatever's meant to come through, we'll get through.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Sandy, again, thank you so much for your time and your knowledge. For anyone who is watching this video, please like and subscribe for more astrology information and to live an aligned life. Thank you. See you soon.